The Boston Celtics are stacked and should be one of the favorites to win the NBA championship next year. So on today's video, I'm going to break down this Celtics roster and why I think it should be a championship contender this year and why they're a championship contender and why they should have high championship expectations next year. Before we get into it, drop a sub, drop a like, let me know who y'all's favorite Boston Celtic player is all time, and let's get into it. Now, before I break down the roster and what this roster currently looks like and my expectations for the Celtics next season, let's see what happened to the Celtics last year to explain how the Celtics got in the situation that they are currently in. Last year, the Boston Celtics were the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and things were pretty much going well for the Celtics, I would say. Honestly, they were battling out with Milwaukee for the 1 seed all year, and it looked like they were the top 2 teams in the East. It looked like we were about to see an Eastern Conference Finals matchup of Milwaukee and Boston. Things were heating up. It was looking nice. And the Celtics honestly had a really nice roster. Jayson Tatum was playing at an MVP level. Jaylen Brown was looking like the best second option in the league. They had Derrick White, Grant Williams coming off the bench, Al Horford, Malcolm Brogden coming off the bench, Robert Williams, just a huge ton of pieces that just really fit well. All them pieces really fit well in Boston, and it's why this team was a 2 seed last year. But here's the thing. There are some times last season where the Celtics kind of look kind of questionable, I would say. And some people blame Joe Mazzulla, his first year being a head coach, stuff not going right with that. Or they might blame Tatum not playing at that MVP level every game, because Tatum did put up some stinkers last year. Trust me, if you look at this game log, you'd be like, oh, there were some bad games for Tatum. Especially if people started to get worried after the Atlanta Hawks took him to 6 games in the first round, which a lot of people expected that to be a 4-game series sweep by the Boston Celtics. In the second round, they played the Philadelphia 76ers and they beat them in 7 games, which the Sixers eventually had a lead in that series, and they have Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid, so you already know how that's going to go. Embiid hasn't made it out the second round once in his career, and Doc Rivers is a masterclass when it comes to choking. So they get all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals and they play Jimmy Butler, an 8th seeded Heat team that just tore up the Milwaukee Bucks and they tore up the New York Knicks, and the Heat, of course, beat them in 7 games in a wild series. There was a wild endings into that series. Of course, we all know that Derrick White game winner in game 6, which was crazy, to bring the series to game 7. And the Boston Celtics will go ahead and lose that game 7, and it really wasn't pretty. They lost badly in that game 7. But here we are now with this Boston Celtics team in the off season. All right, so now it's time for me to break down this roster. Let's start off with the star player, the MVP level player in Jayson Tatum that the Boston Celtics have. Jayson Tatum last year averaged 30 points per game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists on 46% field goal shooting. Tatum was honestly kind of nice. He was in the MVP talks. He was like 5th, I think, in the race. Tatum was kind of nice last year. He just had some stinkers. That is the one thing. Towards the second half of the year, he kind of fell off in the MVP race too. He really wasn't the same as he was in the beginning of the year, but Tatum, he's still a good player. He's still the superstar for the Boston Celtics, and of course he is going to be that superstar for the Boston Celtics. I'm not really worried about Jayson Tatum. I think Jayson Tatum is going to be great. Jayson Tatum, one of the best players in the NBA, always going to probably be in them MVP talks. Jayson Tatum, really good guy. He's going to be that superstar and that piece, the ultimate piece for the Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown, he's kind of a huge question for the Boston Celtics. Currently, as I'm recording and making this video, he has not signed an extension with the Boston Celtics, and he's eligible for one. He has 1 year left on his deal. This year, he averaged 26 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists on 49% field goal shooting. Jaylen Brown is honestly one of my favorite players in the NBA. I love JB. I think he might be the best second option in the NBA, only behind KD and Booker in that whole situation. But listen, JB, he's amazing, but there were some times in this year's playoffs where this man looked lost, turning over the ball over and over again, as you saw in that Miami series. There was a ton of turnovers. It looked like he could not dribble with his left hand to save his life. It just wasn't looking all good for JB, and then there started questions be coming out as should the Celtics trade Jaylen Brown? Should they send him to another team? Or do they really want to give him this max contract extension? Because I'm not going to lie, you're going to be playing Jaylen and Jayson a lot of money, and I mean a lot of money. And people are trying to, can a Jaylen Brown and a Jayson Tatum led team go win a championship? Of course, we know they went to the finals versus Golden State a few years ago, but it's now in question. Honestly, I think they're going to sign JB to that max extension. I don't really see JB leaving, but I don't know what y'all think though. Do you guys think Jaylen Brown's going to end up leaving the Boston Celtics? Because honestly, he's a good piece. He just needs to get them turnover crap under control, and I think he'll be good. Another guard that they have in Boston is Malcolm Brogdon. This man has a very interesting story this year. This year he averaged 14 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists on 48% field goal shooting. He was also 6th man of the year this year coming off the bench for the Boston Celtics. Brogdon was pretty much a good basketball player this year. Like I said, 6th man of the year award. It's just he's kind of in a hard spot because some news came out that he has some injury problems, and that could potentially be a bad thing. He's also 30 years old, so them injuries are going to start coming in. He did win 6th man of the year this year though, which is something. But of course there was trade rumors coming out that they were trying to trade him to the Clippers and stuff, and then it fell through because of them injuries. Honestly, I think Brogdon's still going to be here next year. He did win 6th man of the year last year, so like I said, I think there's still going to be stuff for Brogdon to do. He's probably still going to come off that bench and they're going to try to reuse him as that 6th man. I think fully healthy, Brogdon is a good basketball player. I like what Brogdon does on coming off the bench. Like I said, for again, 6th man of the year, he does really well. I like what I see from Malcolm Brogdon. I think he's staying next year and he's going to be a Boston Celtic. He's a good piece. They also have Derrick White in Boston. This year he averaged 12 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists on 46% field goal shooting. Now, the reason why I think a trade happened that I'm going to get into after I talk about Derrick White is because of Derrick White. Derrick White is kind of like that person that got traded, which I'm going to get into later. He's kind of like him in a way. So that, in my opinion, I think that's why I got traded. Derrick White is also a good piece, and I honestly like him as a shooting guard for the Boston Celtics or a point guard, whatever position that he wants to play. I honestly like him, and I think that's why this trade that I'm about to get into happened. So Marcus Smart this offseason got traded to the Memphis Grizzlies, which was a huge surprise to Celtic fans around the world. And honestly, now that if you look at it, I think that Marcus Smart got traded just because they have Derrick White. And honestly, I think it was a good deal. Of course, Memphis gets Marcus Smart. Washington got out Tyus Jones and a pick and some bench pieces. And the Boston Celtics somehow got 2 first-round picks and Porzingis out of it. Brad Stevens was cooking at GM. When I mean cooking, I mean cooking. I get it, Celtic fans, you might love Marcus Smart, but I think it was time to let him go. If I got a deal like this, I would honestly hit the accept button. 2 first-round picks start off, which is crazy. I did not think they would get 2 first-round picks, but Porzingis honestly adds a lot to this team. I'm gonna break it down why. Porzingis was a smart trade. Last year, Porzingis averaged 23 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists on 49% field goal shooting. Porzingis, when he's healthy, he is good. I think a front court of Porzingis and Robert Williams can really be something, and be a threat to other teams in the NBA. I honestly think it's going to be a really good front court, and I'm excited to see what the Celtics are going to do with this kind of front court. Because honestly, like I said, Porzingis, when this man is healthy, he is a monster. This man can definitely be dangerous when he's healthy. He can put up some points, he can shoot some threes, and then of course, Robert Williams, he's some of that defensive presence. He can get you some defense. He can get you some other stuff too. A front court of Robert Williams and Porzingis is going to be great if everyone is fully healthy. It's going to be nice to see how this goes. Now, one question I do have for the Boston Celtics going into next year is Joe Mazzulla going to do better? Because I heard a lot of Celtic fans complaining about Mazzulla, saying Mazzulla isn't a good coach and saying all this. It was his rookie year as a coach. This is going to be year 2 as the Celtics head coach. Honestly, I think he's going to do better with a whole bunch of Emi Udoka's staff. I probably butchered that name, I apologize. But you know, the previous Celtics head coach, he probably had a whole bunch of his staff still there. They all left, packed up and went to Houston. So Mazzulla can bring his own guys in. It's going to be year 2. I think Mazzulla definitely can do better and hopefully not be as bad as he was in the playoffs year 1. Because a lot of Celtic fans I saw complaining, just ranting about Mazzulla and how bad he was in the playoffs. So clearly, it was not good. Like I talked about earlier, the GM Brad Stevens, this man is a genius. He's a mastermind. I don't know how he got Porzingis and 2 first-round picks for Marcus Smart and some bench players. That honestly blew my mind with it. That he's a great GM. I like what he's doing. I think he's going to be great. And I honestly think because of him and the moves that he's make is going to really help the Celtics team go ahead and be championship favorites and go ahead and push for that championship this year. Just because this guy is a mastermind when it comes to being a GM. He is great. Definitely one of the best GMs in the league. So in conclusion, I think the Boston Celtics should be championship contenders and should have high hopes for a championship next year because of why? Jayson Tatum, MVP level player. Jaylen Brown, if he most likely is going to resign, amazing player, one of the best second options in the league as long as he can learn how to dribble the basketball. They got some guards like Malcolm Brogdon, Derrick White, some great guards. They traded for Porzingis and they have Robert Williams. That's going to be a great front court. This Celtics team is really good. They got a questionable head coach, but hopefully will be better year 2, and a mastermind at GM. This Celtics team definitely has championship aspirations going into next year. Ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing. It's free, and please like the video. It would be much appreciated. Like I said, comment your favorite Boston Celtic player all time. And these two videos right here, I recommend y'all go watch them. They're great work by me. Hope y'all can go watch them. All of y'all watching this video, hope all of y'all have a nice day. Have a good one.